Hi everyone. In this video I am going to discuss the introduction of VLSI design. So coming to the VLSI design, first of all, what is VLSI? VLSI stands for Very Large Scale Integration. So what is this very large scale integration? So first of all, what is meant by integration? So integration is nothing but summation. So summation means putting together resistors, transistors, capacitors all together collectively for specific application. Like an integrated circuit is a small semiconductor based electronic device consisting of fabricated transistors, resistors and capacitors. So these are the building blocks for most of the electronic devices and equipments. So we call integrated circuit as a chip. We also call this microchip. So this is integrated circuit definition. Then what are the advantages and disadvantages of an IC? So physical size is extremely small and very less weight, more reliability, low power consumption, having high operating speed. So what about the drawbacks? Inductors, transformers, these cannot be fabricated and limited amount of power can be handled. So basically VLSI is very large scale integration. So integration is nothing but summation. So summation of these components, resistors, capacitors, transistors all together on a chip. And coming to the Moore's law, the famous Moore's law. So Moore's law is given by Jordan Moore. He stated that number of transistors on an IC doubles for every 18 months. So first of all, he predicted that number of transistors on an IC are going to double for every 2 years. But later on it is corrected that it is not taking 2 years, it is less than 2 years. Within 1.5 years itself, the number of transistors on an IC are doubling. And exponentially the cost is also reducing. Components are increasing, cost is reducing. So that means we are able to integrate more and more components on an IC. So all these years, it is given in 1965. From 1965 onwards, same type of integration is being observed. And coming to this graph indicates here in 1970, it is given in 1965. So from 1970 onwards, so this graph if we observe, so this is 4004 is a 4-bit calculator. So 808, 8008, 8080, these are microprocessors. 8086 microprocessor, 286, 386, 486 Pentium. So like this, if we observe this graph in a linear manner, exponentially the transistors are increasing. So that means too many components are integrated within the same chip. So whatever Moore predicted became true from 1965 to all these years. So because of his prediction, we are able to see different levels of integration like small scale integration, medium scale integration, large scale integration, very large scale integration, ultra large scale integration, giant scale integration. Likewise, different integrations are the result. So how these are given? Small scale integration is some 10 to hundreds of transistors integrated per chip. So some hundreds to thousands of transistors per chip integration is medium scale. So if we increase still more, thousands to several hundred thousands, that is large scale. So up to 1 million transistors per chip, it is very large scale. So if we go for ultra large scale, still more. So like that, levels of integration increase means number of transistors increase. So if we see this table, we can say small scale integration is less than 10 gates per chip, and examples are logic gates, AND gate, OR gate. So like this. And medium scale integration is some flip-flops, basic combinational and sequential blocks, adders, multiplexers, demultiplexers. Coming to large scale integration, it is PLDs, programmable logic devices. So small memory chips like that. VLSI, large memory chips, CPLDs. And coming to the ultra large scale integration, microprocessors, microcontrollers, all this. So ultimately the levels of integration increase is nothing but increasing the complexity, increasing integration, that is too many components are put together on an IC to form a complex application, sophisticated application. But nowadays we can see some articles like Moore's law is dead, RIP to Moore's law, let Moore's law rest in peace. So what is the theme of that article is that till now from 1965 onwards to all these years, we are able to see the exponential growth in the number of components. So if you consider the channel length of the transistor, it became less. So it is in millimeter previously, then it is in nanometers, 180 nanometer, 22 nanometer. So like that, the channel length between the source and drain channel is present. The channel length is becoming small because of the decreasing of the transistor sizes, and the channel length cannot be too much small when compared to the size of the atom. So it cannot be smaller than the size of the atom. So that means there is some end for this. So that's why some articles are coming. So there are some lot of researches going on, and due to that there are many innovations like quantum dots, FinFETs, and memristors. All these are the future electronics. So ultimately we are able to enjoy all the portable products like small computers, small palm tops, portable devices, handheld devices, which are capable of functioning wonderfully with too many features, that is provided by the increasing the levels of integration. If we have too many components packed together in small area of silicon, then only it is capable of having too many features. So that's why the portable products, handheld products, whatever we are enjoying today, are the result of the Moore's law, which he predicted previously in 1965. So going to the some basics of these previous electronics, whatever we had, like we used to have ENIAC computers. So electronic numerical integrator computer, which is formed by the vacuum tubes. So here we can see it's a very huge structure. So the person is operating it. It is having very limited features. Though it is huge, the features are very less when compared to the portable palm tops we are having now, having too many features. So that is the beauty of electronics, advancements in the electronics. So this is also a picture of ENIAC. So the complex structure, it is made of number of vacuum tubes. They are big size, they consume huge power, and they are having short lifetime filament. But coming to the present day electronics, it is very compact. So we are having the transistors became smaller, they became faster, they are going to dissipate less power, they are cheaper to manufacture. Like this, many special features are there in the electronics which we are having today. So coming to the history of semiconductor devices, In 1947, first point contact bipolar transistor is made by Bardeen and Breton. So this is the team, point contact transistor. This is point contact transistor, which is made by Bardeen, Breton and Shockley. These three are the teammates. So next, after bipolar junction transistor, point contact transistor, then first bipolar junction transistor is invented. So bipolar junction transistor is relatively better when compared to the vacuum tubes. So it is having good reliability, and it is having very good features when compared to vacuum tubes, it used to consume less power and it used to work fine. So the next is the integrated circuits. So these integrated circuits are given by the Jack Kilby. So in 1947, point contact transistor, 1948, bipolar transistor, and in the bipolar transistor we know the operation is taking place by the current. Mainly it is a current control device. We have base emitter collector. The current given at the base is going to give large current. We are going to have the current control mechanism in the BJT. So it's fine when compared to vacuum tubes. So next is the integrated circuits given by this Kilby. So this is a first integrated circuit. So this first integrated circuit is having transistors, resistors, capacitors on same piece of semiconductor, but it is having a problem of low connectivity between the components. So for that, next came the 1959 planar technology came into picture. So Kilby's invention had a serious drawback, that is a connectivity issue. So for that, planar technology came into the picture. So next we are having the planar integrated circuit given by Noyce. So then previously we used to have integrated circuits with BJT, but when compared to BJT, FETs are working fine when compared to the BJT. FETs are field effect transistors. They operate with voltage. They are voltage control devices. So when compared to BJT, FETs have high input impedance. So due to that feature, the FETs occupied the place of the BJTs. However, whenever required, bipolar transistors are also used. So mostly in the integrated circuits, FETs are used. In FETs, we are having JFET, MOSFET. So JFET is junction field effect transistor. MOSFET is metal oxide semiconductor field effect transistor. In MOSFET, it is also called as insulated gate field effect transistor. So MOSFET, we are having two types, depletion type of MOSFET and enhancement type MOSFET. Again, P channel, N channel. So coming to the MOSFET technology, we are having P channel MOSFET. PMOS is nothing but P channel enhancement MOSFET. Then NMOS is N channel enhancement MOSFET. CMOS is complementary MOSFET. It's a combination of NMOS and PMOS. Then we are having BiCMOS. It is combination of BJT and the CMOS. Bipolar, bi means bipolar, plus CMOS is complementary metal oxide semiconductor. So coming to the MOSFETs, we are having NMOS, PMOS, CMOS. So NMOS is enhancement MOSFET, N-channel enhancement MOSFET. So in the MOSFET, we'll have substrate. Suppose it is NMOS, we have P substrate. Source and drain will be of semiconductor material. If it is NMOS, N plus source and N plus drain will be present with the diffusion process. And gate, actually the name is given by metal oxide. Metal is the name of the gate. So metal is used for forming the gate previously. But due to the polysilicon, so polysilicon is having very good performance when compared to the metal. So polysilicon can withstand to high temperatures. So due to that, people